This video is sponsored by Magellan TV. Captain Craig Button was a United States Air Force pilot who disappeared while flying what should have been a routine training mission out of Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona. Multiple attempts to establish radio contact with his Fairchild A-10 Thunderbolt II failed, as it flew hundreds of miles off course. Radar was able to track his inexplicable flight into the Colorado Rockies before he vanished. It would be 3 weeks before his aircraft was found, and its 2,000 pounds of live bombs are still missing to this day. Support Dark Docs and watch more incredible history documentary content for free thanks to Magellan TV, a new kind of documentary streaming service that brings war and military history to your TV and your fingertips. Check out the 8-part series World War II Battles Won and Lost. Every battle is both a victory and a defeat, depending on what side you're on. Learn more about the strategies that decided World War II. Visit try.magellantv.com/darkdocs or click the link in the description below to get a free 1-month trial of Magellan TV. Magellan TV has the richest and most varied history content available anywhere, with specific genres emphasizing ancient history, early modern history, current history, and war and military. Support Dark Docs by signing up for your 1-month free trial. Click on the link in the description below to watch for free today, or visit try.magellantv.com/darkdocs. On April 2nd, 1997, 32-year-old U.S. Air Force Captain Craig D. Button was flying in formation over Arizona when he suddenly broke away and headed towards the Colorado Rocky Mountains. Button was piloting a $9 million plane, the Fairchild Republic A-10 Thunderbolt II. The A-10 was a twin turbofan engine, a straight-wing aircraft meant for close air support of ground troops, or to serve as a forward air controller in charge of pointing other aircraft to ground targets. It's ordinarily tasked with destroying tanks and armored vehicles on the battlefield. As a single-seat aircraft, no one but the pilot is in command. That day, Button had taken off from the Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona, along with 2 additional A-10s for a training mission. The exercise should have marked the very first training exercise in which Captain Button dropped live bombs. His jet was carrying 4 Mk-82s, each weighing 500 pounds, along with 120 metal chaff canisters, 60 magnesium flares, and several rounds of ammunition for the plane's autocannon. Instead of completing the mission, however, Captain Craig Button and his bombs were lost forever. After diverting from the formation, Button turned off his transponder, or perhaps it failed. Witnesses and the aircraft radar reading indicated he was heading towards the Rocky Mountains, 800 miles off the correct course. The plane allegedly zigzagged around the mountains as it made it towards the peaks. Although the aircraft could be tracked, its resting place could not initially be determined. One witness claimed to have seen the A-10 about 100 miles to the west of Denver, Colorado, before it disappeared near Craig's Peak. The 3 feet of snow that fell over Gold Dust Peak and the surrounding mountains that same day complicated rescue efforts. As investigators examined Captain Button's past performance and behavior, a number of red flags arose. Before his disappearance, Captain Button had several negative marks in his Air Force training record. He was known for his love of skiing and mountains, and during piloting exercises, he was reprimanded at least once for flying out of course to approach the Rocky Mountains. That day he may have been doing the same when it was determined that he flew just 2 miles from Craig Mountain at 300 miles per hour. His aircraft eventually ended up at Gold Dust Peak, where it crashed about 13,300 feet above ground level. During the 3 weeks before Button's A-10 was found, rumors spread about what had transpired as reports and sightings of the missing pilot flooded into investigators. Most of the more outlandish claims have been debunked. A popular theory supported by conspiracy theorists claimed that Button landed his A-10 in a safe, predetermined location where he met up with extraterrestrials. Others suggested he encountered a UFO during his flight and was subsequently silenced. No evidence supports either claim. Additional unsubstantiated media reports circled around, claiming that Button was escaping the military to avoid difficulties in his personal life. Family members and Air Force findings have largely contradicted these claims. Other conspiracy theorists have attempted to link his disappearance to extremist groups, a rumor mostly inspired by the lingering uncertainty regarding the aircraft's extensive armament on the day of the disappearance. A similar rumor also developed, claiming that Button intended to fly towards Colorado Springs to bomb the North American Air Defense Command on Cheyenne Mountain. Many who knew him have found these last two rumors particularly offensive, as he was known for being particularly patriotic. Still, the U.S. Air Force was forced to issue a statement at the time, explaining that no one would bother dropping a bomb in Cheyenne Mountain because the facility is built to hold off a nuclear blast. Extensive and contradictory witness claims served to fuel the rumors and conspiracy theorists. Contradictions over the sighting times, routes, and speed of the plane, combined with the long list of eyewitness accounts, created more than enough fodder for active imaginations. The real reason for the sequence of events that day is still a mystery. As the Vail Mountain Rescue representative Dan Smith once stated about the case, quote, "There are some things we're never going to know." The Air Force began searching for the aircraft as soon as Captain Button was internally declared missing after his inexplicable departure from his training exercise. Search parties desperately looked for the plane over 18 days with no results. It was believed that the recent snow on Gold Dust Peak was hiding the A-10, and for some days, search parties weren't even launched. The Air Force needed warmer weather. The search process was daunting and seemed hopeless at first. On April 20th, pilots Rich Rugg and Dale Jensen of the Colorado National Guard's high-altitude aviation training site were flying on an OH-58 helicopter when they made a discovery. They passed by the area where the aircraft is believed to have crashed. By twilight, they identified pieces of the wreckage on top of a snowy cliff. A-10 pilots were sent to confirm the discovery. Afterward, the Air Force deployed pararescue jumpers from Las Vegas. The rescue effort commenced 20 days after the search began in the mountain area, and the rescuers were tasked with navigating the steep terrain and high winds. At the same time, snow, rock slides, and avalanches all threatened them. Dale Jensen later recalled the months-long rescue experience, quote, "We used to joke that if we knew we'd have to spend our whole summer, 7 days a week, we would have never found it." It's estimated that the local high-altitude ARNG aviation training site helicopter pilots spent around 700 hours each during these efforts. The wreckage covered a quarter-mile square area, and the crash site was located at an altitude of 13,360 feet. During the recovery, investigators determined no alcohol or drugs had been involved in the crash, but could not rule out carbon monoxide affecting the pilot. The question on everyone's minds following the crash of the A-10 plane was why. The Air Force final report on the accident came to the conclusion that he suffered from mental instability due to concerns over his mother's faith and issues with his ex-girlfriend. The psychological assessment conducted by the Air Force, however, was soundly rejected by his parents. His father and mother, Richard and Joan Button, lived in Massapequa, New York. His father was a retired Air Force officer, a fact that reportedly placed high expectations on Button. His mother was a devoted anti-military Jehovah's Witness who wouldn't let her son wear his ROTC uniform at home when he visited while in college. Captain Button once stated in a letter, "My mother is a Jehovah's Witness, raised me to think that joining the military was wrong." On the other hand, his father's side of the family provided some encouragement. He was even related to a famed World War II B-17 pilot, Lieutenant Donald Hurlbut. Before he left for training on April 2nd, his roommate claimed that Button was being harassed by his mother and her negative attitude towards the military. Just as worrisome, his landlord claimed he had been behaving strangely. Button also reportedly had trouble with his ex-girlfriend. It's thought that Button had recently proposed only to be shot down. After the rejection, some friends and acquaintances claimed he just wasn't the same. In fact, on the day before his disappearance, he called her, but she did not answer. It was claimed that he rented and possibly watched The Bridges of Madison County before going rogue. The Air Force report also covered his personality, pointing out that he liked to dangerously fly along low ground and then ascend rapidly for fun. He also loved detouring towards the Rocky Mountains, which repeatedly caused problems with his superior officers. Some friends shared that he had fantasized about being a commercial pilot, home-based in Denver. Whether this love for the mountains influenced or possibly even caused the incident is unknown. Factoring in all these details led the Air Force to conclude that mental instability induced by his unrequited love and familial hardship had led Button to make his fateful flight. The findings were controversial among those who knew him. Regardless, during his last moments, it's now known that he circled Gold Dust Peak at 300 miles per hour. The reason why may never be known. What did make sense to everyone who loved him was the sight of the crash. Everyone around him was aware of how much he liked the mountains. His father was convinced that some system in the aircraft must have failed, later stating, quote, "There must have been some kind of air contamination. We think he was disoriented, that he wasn't able to control his airplane for a period of time. We think that caused the accident." The biggest mystery that remains after the crash is the matter of the 2,000 pounds of bombs that Button's A-10 was carrying. The scattered wreckage was of no help, and the weapons were not found and were never recovered. It's unclear if any of them exploded, or if they simply slid down into an inaccessible area of the mountain undetonated. A section of the official Air Force report included references to 58 instances of witnesses claiming that loud explosions had been heard in northern Arizona, especially in Telluride and Aspen. These witness testimonies led to the theory that Button may have dumped or fired the explosives. However, this is unconfirmed, and no visual confirmation was ever recorded. Thanks for watching, and thanks again to Magellan TV for sponsoring this video and for offering a free trial to Dark Docs viewers. Please visit try.magellantv.com/darkdocs or click on the link in the description below for access to more than 2,000 documentaries, streaming across all your devices without interruption.